Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Tech, AI, and Beyond. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've just wrapped up a fantastic series on AI trust, risk, and security management, and now we're pivoting to something I think is just as critical: sustainable technology. We're constantly told that technology is going to solve all of our biggest problems, but what if technology is also part of the problem? The very same innovation that powers our world is also, in many ways, threatening it. And that sets up one of the most important questions of our time. Can we use our incredible ingenuity to actually save our planet? Well, that's the core idea behind what we call green tech. And in this explainer, we are going to break down exactly what it is. This really captures our modern dilemma perfectly, doesn't it? The engine of progress that gave us longer, healthier lives and connected our global society, well, it's also the same engine that has pushed our planet to the brink. We've built this absolutely incredible world, but you could say we financed it with a massive environmental debt. So the question now is, can we turn that sword around? Can we wield that same incredible power of innovation, not just for human progress, but for planetary preservation? So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with a really clear definition of green tech. Then we'll connect it to the global why, the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. After that, we'll take a quick trip back in time to trace its origin story, uncover the 3 core principles that guide all of it, and then wrap it all up with the single biggest takeaway. All right, let's dive in. Okay, so what is green tech, really? I mean, the term gets thrown around for everything from Teslas to reusable coffee cups, and it can get a little confusing. But to really grasp its power, we need to cut through all the marketing buzz and build a clear, functional definition. At its very core, this is it. It's not just one thing. It's this amazing intersection where chemistry, artificial intelligence, material science, you name it, all meet with a single shared purpose: to improve our lives without destroying the natural systems that we all depend on. It really represents a profound shift in thinking, from conquering nature to collaborating with it. And this is a super crucial point. Green tech isn't some standalone industry. Think of it more like a new operating system that's being installed across our entire economy. We can really break it down into 5 key domains: generating clean energy, totally rethinking how we move around, managing our precious water, eliminating waste, and, of course, revolutionizing agriculture. Let's just take a quick look at each one. Clean energy is probably the one you hear about the most. It's all about decarbonizing our power grid. So on the generation side, you've got the heavy hitters like solar and wind, whose costs have just plummeted. But here's the challenge, right? The sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow. That's why storage, things like lithium-ion batteries, is the absolutely critical missing piece of the puzzle. And finally, you have efficiency. Because honestly, the greenest energy is the energy you don't even use in the first place, which is where technologies like smart grids come in, using data to balance supply and demand in real time. It's brilliant. Next up, mobility and water. Transportation is a huge source of emissions, so the strategy here is really twofold. First, electrify everything you can with EVs. But second, it's about making the entire system smarter with things like shared mobility platforms and optimized public transit. And then for water, the technology is tackling both scarcity and purity. More efficient desalination is making saltwater drinkable in more places, while smart irrigation systems use sensors to deliver water precisely where it's needed, which drastically reduces waste in agriculture. And finally, green tech is upgrading 2 of our oldest and most fundamental industries: how we deal with waste and how we grow our food. In waste management, you've got AI-powered robots that can now sort recyclables with superhuman speed and accuracy, making a true circular economy actually seem possible. And in agriculture, agritech is completely transforming farming. I'm talking about precision agriculture, which uses drones and sensors to create these high-resolution maps of a field, allowing farmers to apply water and fertilizer with almost surgical precision. It saves resources, it cuts costs, and it prevents pollution. It's a win-win-win. Okay, so we've defined the what, this incredible ecosystem of innovations. But that leads us to an even more important question: why, right? Why is all of this happening now? Well, the answer is that green tech isn't just emerging in a vacuum. It's the technological response to a shared global mission. This is the key connection you have to understand. Back in 2015, all the United Nations member states adopted the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. It's basically a set of 17 interconnected goals that serve as a blueprint for a more peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable future for everyone on the planet. So if the SDGs are our shared destination, our collective why, then green technology is the vehicle. It's the how. It's the set of tools that will actually get us there. And the alignment here is incredibly direct. It's amazing. The world needs affordable and clean energy for all. That's SDG 7. Well, the renewable energy sector is delivering exactly that. The world needs sustainable cities. That's SDG 11. And what are the building blocks for that? Green buildings and smart transit. And of course, the world needs urgent climate action. SDG 13. And guess what? Nearly every single piece of green tech, from a solar panel to a route optimizing algorithm, is a direct answer to that call. And the impact just ripples out from there. Advanced water purification, that serves the goal of clean water for all. The circular economy is pretty much the very definition of responsible consumption. And agri-tech is absolutely critical to achieving zero hunger. You can really start to see how green tech acts like this golden thread, weaving its way through this entire global agenda for a better future. So, we have the what's and we have the why. But look, this movement didn't just appear overnight. It's built on a foundation of centuries of activism, science, and policy. To really understand where green tech is going, I think we first have to understand where it came from. The story really begins way back in the 19th century, not with technology, but with philosophy. You had thinkers like Henry David Thoreau and John Muir, who were reacting to the Industrial Revolution by championing the intrinsic value of nature, which really established an ethical foundation for preservation. But the modern movement, that truly ignited in the 1960s and 70s. This was the era of awakening, capped by the 1973 oil crisis, which gave us the first real economic shock that spurred government investment in alternatives like solar. Then, from the 80s through the 2000s, the focus shifted to the global threat of climate change as the science became undeniable, leading to early policy frameworks like the Kyoto Protocol. But the last 20 years, the 21st century, is where we've seen an absolute explosion. It's a convergence of falling costs, stronger policy, and real market demand that has turned green tech into an economic powerhouse.
It's almost impossible to overstate the importance of moments like this. Rachel Carson's 1962 book, Silent Spring, was a complete watershed moment. By meticulously documenting the devastating impact of pesticides like DDT, she showed the public in clear, powerful terms that our own inventions could actually turn against us. It was just a masterclass in science communication that shifted public consciousness and really demonstrated that we have to be thoughtful and deliberate about the technologies we deploy into the world. It laid the groundwork for what we now call the precautionary principle that guides so much of sustainable design today.
Now, while policy and activism set the stage, the real engine of today's revolution is simple: economics. Just look at these cost declines. In just one decade, battery costs have plummeted by over 90%. This isn't just gradual improvement. It's an exponential collapse in cost, kind of like what we saw with computer chips. This is that magic moment when a technology stops being a niche alternative and becomes the default, cheapest economic choice. This cost revolution is the single biggest force driving the energy transition. Period. Okay, so we've got the definition, the motivation, and the history. Now we can distill this entire massive field down to its core logic. Beneath all the diverse technologies, there are really three shared principles, three guiding stars, if you will, that are fundamentally rethinking how we make and use everything. And here they are: decarbonization, resource efficiency, and circularity. Decarbonization is the most urgent one. It's the massive mission to re-engineer our entire energy and industrial base to run without emitting greenhouse gases. Resource efficiency is the principle of doing more with less. It's about dematerialization, designing products and systems that deliver the same or even better value with radically fewer energy and material inputs. And finally, circularity. This one is perhaps the most profound of the three because it challenges the very foundation of our modern consumer economy. For the last 200 years or so, our economy has been almost entirely linear. We take resources out of the ground, we make products, and then we dispose of them as waste. It's a one-way street from the mine to the landfill. The circular economy completely flips this model on its head. It's a regenerative system that's designed to eliminate the very concept of waste, keeping materials in use at their highest possible value for as long as possible. So how does this actually work in practice? Well, it starts right at the beginning, with design, making products that can be easily taken apart. This way, you reframe waste not as trash, but as a valuable resource for the next process. But the most powerful shift is often in the business model. For example, instead of selling you a light bulb, a company sells you a subscription to light. All of a sudden, it's in their best interest to make that bulb last as long as humanly possible and use the absolute least amount of energy. This business model perfectly aligns the company's profit motive with the goals of the consumer and, well, the planet. It's genius. Wow, we have covered a huge amount of ground today, from the basic definition of green tech all the way to the deep principles that guide it. So, what's the one big idea to really take away from all of this? So let's just put it all together real quick. Green tech is a vast ecosystem of innovation, not just one single industry. It's the essential toolkit that we are using to achieve our shared global goals. This movement, remember, didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's built on decades and decades of progress. And at its heart, it's driven by a new logic. Decarbonize our energy, use our resources way more efficiently, and build a circular economy where waste just doesn't exist. If you remember just one thing from this explainer, please let it be this. This is not a niche sector. This isn't just about feeling good or being an environmentalist. This is the next great economic wave on the scale of the Industrial Revolution or the Digital Revolution. The transition from a fossil-fueled linear economy to a renewable, circular one is the great work of our time, and it is going to create trillions of dollars in economic value and define global leadership for the next 100 years. And that leads us to our final thought. The technologies are here, the costs are falling, and the momentum is quite frankly unstoppable. The tools are in our hands, so the question is no longer if we can build a sustainable future, but how we, all of us, will choose to build it. Now that's a question for policymakers, for engineers, for investors, and for all of us. To sum it all up, green tech is a comprehensive, multi-domain approach to aligning our technological progress with planetary health, driven by the principles of decarbonization, efficiency, and circularity. And it's the key to achieving global sustainability goals. Be sure to tune in for our next series where we'll explore powering the world sustainably, solar, wind, and beyond. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, like, and share, and don't forget to hit the bell for more from Tech, AI, and beyond.